This year's Tanabata pick is drawing quite the attention, but should you summon for LR Golden Frieza and Gogeta? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We got another Dokkan Battle video here for you today. We are answering that age-old question. Should you summon on the upcoming LR Golden Frieza and Gogeta? As always, in order to answer that question, we will take a look at three major deciding factors. Number one, we'll look at the unit itself. Is the unit good enough to justify a summon with your hard-earned dragon stones? Next, we'll take a look at the banner. The unit does not exist alone, obviously. He is on a banner, and is that banner worth it? If you pull on that banner, are you getting your stones worth? And then finally, we'll take a look at what lies ahead. If we pull on the banner for Golden Frieza and Gogeta, what might be given up in the near future? So let's go ahead and let's kick things off with the unit details here. So we have the LR Tech, Stirred Battle Instincts, Golden Frieza, and Gogeta. The first exchange unit of its kind. I don't think that well, I guess we had Int Goku and Frieza from the Tournament of Power, but I think this more so than anybody really surprised people. I don't think that anybody ever expected them to do this, but they are quite good, right? They have a movie bosses and movie heroes lead for key 3, HP 200%, attack and defense 170%, with an additional attack and defense 50% for transformation boost, gifted warriors, and inhuman deeds. Their 18 key super attack effects will greatly raise attack for the turn, cause medical colossal damage, and lower attack and defense by 30% for the enemy, and while raising allies attack by 50% for the turn. On the 12 key, he will greatly raise attack for the turn, causing mega colossal damage and lowering attack and defense of the enemy. So pretty good. No defense on super, but as you're going to see, it's kind of not necessary. Alright. Basic effects are attack and defense 250%, additional key 2 per key sphere obtained, damage reduction rate 70%, and for 5 turns from his entry turn, guards all attacks. Starting from the 6th turn from his entry turn, he has a great chance of guarding all attacks, and when there are 4 or more extreme allies on the team, or when there's another movie heroes or movie bosses ally attacking on the same turn, he launches an additional super attack. For every attack received, he gets attack 150%, and transforming critical hit 10% within the turn. So really powerful effect there, right? He's going to get stronger as he gets hit throughout the turn, and we'll see why this is important here in a second. Whenever guard is activated, he gets a permanent defense buff of 20% up to 100%. And when there are 3 or more superclass allies on the team starting from the 3rd turn of the entry turn, or starting from the 5th turn from battle, he will change key spheres from AGL and SDR to Tech, and randomly change Fizz and Int, or Fizz or Int, to Rainbow key spheres, and meet up with Gogeta to perform the reversible exchange. So in the base form with Golden Frieza, he also has an active skill that can be activated either before or after his reversible exchange, as long as there are 4 or more extreme allies on the team. And what this does is it is a target skill that will direct all attacks toward him for the turn while raising his key to 24, so basically giving him that 18 key and defense 400%. So it basically makes him invincible for the turn, because, you know, defense 400% plus 70% damage reduction, and guard, if you're using it early, means that, you know, he's not taking any damage. And when you combine that with this little bit here, right, 150% for each attack within the turn, right, if you pop that early, right, and you know, let all of the attacks go towards him, chuck him in the 3rd slot, you've now got a monster in the 3rd slot, dealing tons of damage, right? This is incredibly useful for fights like Special Battle, where you're going to be finishing the fight within turns 2 to 3 in most cases, so it makes him near invulnerable in those fights. And then very easily taking out some of the bosses there. So very, very cool effect, and I do like the fact that depending on your team build, you can do it either early or you can do it after the reversible exchange, depending on how you build your team. Now, once you perform your reversible exchange into Gogeta, things change a little bit on his utilization. While Frieza focuses mostly on defense with having that really powerful active skill turn, Gogeta, on the other hand, will massively raise his attack and defense for one turn, causing make colossal damage to the enemy, raising allies' defense by 50% for one turn. Right, so Gogeta focuses more on buffing allies' defense, while Frieza focuses more on buffing allies' attack. But Gogeta, unlike Frieza, gets attack and defense on his unit, on his 18 key, and it's 100% raise, mind you. And pay attention to that, because that's going to come to play later when we talk about what he's doing after. So it's 100% raise there. Then on his 12 key, he has a 50% raise attack and defense for the turn. He has the ability to continue the reversible exchange with Golden Frieza. He gets key 6 and attack and defense 250%. He receives an additional key 1 per key sphere obtained, and has effective against all types with a high chance of evading enemies' attack. That's a 50% chance. With a key sphere obtained once only, he will fully recover HP, and with 3 or more allies on the team, or when there's another movie heroes or movie bosses category ally attacking in the same turn, he has an additional 40% damage reduction rate. So 50% chance to guard, 40% chance of 40% damage reduction. When attacking with 20 or more key, he gets attack and defense 200%. Great chance to perform a critical hit. When activating the active skill or when 24 key, additional attack 150% and performs a critical hit. For every key sphere obtained, he gets an additional 5% chance of evasion and an additional 10% attack, and allies defense 10% when attacking, self-excluded. For every 5 key spheres obtained, he launches an additional super attack. So this is a really cool nuking effect that we've never really seen before, right? Obviously, we've had 10% attack raises before, right, which is kind of low for a nuker, but when you consider everything else that he's doing and the amount of attack he already has, it's honestly not that bad. Like, it's actually a lot that it's adding. You know, it's possible of a, right, if you get a full key, if you get a full field, right, that's still a 240% attack increase there. But what's really interesting, right, is if you get the full field, right, we're talking about a 240% ally defense raise, which is really nice for the team, right? So if you popped him in slot 1, you would have, with the full key spheres obtained, right, your remaining characters are going to be extremely defensive buffed for the turn. So that's really nice. Now, the nice thing about this too, the 5%, right, with 50% attack, all right, or with 50% chance of evading enemies' attack already, 5%, you only need 10 key spheres to get guaranteed dodge, which isn't, I mean, it can be hard, but with all the rainbow orb changing on a team that he's going to be on, it's really not that bad. And even better, his active skill, right, which can be activated with 3 or more superclass allies on the team, will raise his attack by 540% temporarily, cause ultimate damage to the enemy, and defense 540%, and then changes all key spheres to attack for 1 turn. So you have a guaranteed turn where you're going to proc this entire passive with the full 24 key spheres obtained. So really, really nice on him. So that means on that turn, right, he's going to be, right, with that 540% plus the extra 240% here, plus everything he's getting here. That is an incredibly powerful turn for Gogeta, especially when you consider, once again, I told you to remember this, he is 100% raising on that initial 18 key, which means each one of these is an additional 50% raise. And so with the possibility of 5 supers in a turn, like, we are talking about some, you know, we're talking like easily throwing out 200 mil attack stats here on the turn that he uses this, and then, you know, continuing to do, you know, upwards of 450 million all together, like, for that turn. Like, it's insane what the damage is going to be thrown out on the turn that he does this, right? And that's not even factoring that, like, if you waited a turn and did this on a turn that you could activate AGL Gogeta's active, for example, and nearly double this, like, it's just insane. So all in all, they are an insane unit. They are incredibly powerful and definitely up there with the likes of the GDC LRs. Like, no questions asked. Right up there with the Blues, right up there with Gogeta and Omega. So the only big issue I see with them is their leads, right? We do know that the movie bosses side of things is already getting its first buff here within the week, which is the AGL LR Golden Frieza. We don't know if there are any temporary buffs, but the team itself isn't in the hottest place right now. The Broly's are on their way out of the Broly's are on their way out, sort of usability. LR, STR Broly, possible Super Easy A during this celebration, but there isn't much else to work with in terms of, right, in terms of movie boss characters for the team. They could Super Easy A something like this, or not Super Easy A, but Sub Easy A, like him, or not him, that AGL variation, right? And maybe Super Easy A Golden Frieza, but I mean, there isn't much to work with here. Maybe a Super Easy A for one of these guys, right? Or, well, I guess it would have to be the tech one. Otherwise, yeah, there's not much to work with, so that's going to be really tough with the lead. And then same goes for movie heroes, right? Movie heroes, at least current meta-wise, that you have to work with. You have AGL Gogeta, you have the gods, you have this Gohan, but, I mean, with this Gohan, probably not going to work the greatest on this team. So there's that. TURs wise, I mean, there's really nothing, honestly. There's really nothing here that they can work with. Maybe if they Easy A these guys. I mean, now it is possible that the superhero LRs could be Easy Aing at the end of this celebration, maybe. I feel like that's a bit too soon. A lot of people were thinking they would Easy A the worldwide LRs during this time, but I really don't think that that's going to happen. So, I mean, regardless, I mean, the team, it'll be interesting because, like, their passive, the 4 and the 3, that's essentially the number of characters you have of each type to work on the team anyways, right? Especially if you pull like the new Vegeta or something. So that would be really the only beef with the character that I have, and would probably be the only reason I would say don't summon, is if you don't have the ability to run them as lead, because running them as lead is how they're going to function the best, honestly, because you do want to kind of have both Frieza and Gogeta floating around. Frieza helps protect the early turns until you get Gogeta for the final turns. Now, I would say all in all, that makes the character a summon for the character. But again, the caveat is if you have the movie hero and movie bosses to make the one team you could probably make right now. So that's one for the unit. Moving on, of course, like we said, the unit doesn't exist by himself. The unit exists on a banner, and this is their banner. Thanks to Proton Tana MG for putting this out there. We can see that his banner is going to be your standard Tanabata banner, right? It is going to have the typical 10 featured units. Now, what's interesting is they don't note any other LRs on the banner, which they typically do, which means Golden Frieza is probably the only LR on the banner, and it does return Kaioken Goku and hit as we expected, but Glorio is also here, which means Daima Goku is also there, and then of course the new Vegeta. So I mean, all in all, the banner itself probably not going to be the greatest. If there's any Easy A's or Super Easy A's like the Int ROF Duo or possible, Super Easy A Golden Frieza, they'll probably be on the banner as well. But I don't foresee there being much craziness in terms of LRs on the banner. I think this is because if they were on the banner, I think they'd be featured right here. like instead of Glorio. Like obviously Hit and Goku are going to be here because they are returning, but like they probably would have tossed one of the LRs instead of Glorio here if there was one, and then there would be a mention of how many LRs can be Dokkan awakened into an LR here, as they usually do with these types of banners. So yeah, the banner doesn't look that great if I'm being honest. Kaioken Goku, right? We know the problems with Kaioken Goku. Hit is kind of good, actually. He's really helpful on super bosses, right? Especially if you can get him that you know, Ghost Touch turn by dodging those couple attacks in the first turn. He can be useful, but you know, at the end of the day, he is dodge or die. Glorio is still really good. I don't care what anybody says, like he's still really good, but you know, with only 3+1s and no pity for the banner, since this is the Tanabata banner, makes it really hard to justify a summon here, because again, outside of maybe Hit and then these two themselves, or I'm sorry, not Hit, it's outside of Glorio and then maybe these two, right? There isn't much draw to this banner, unfortunately. So I have to give that a no for the banner, right? While Vegeta is good, while some of these are good, it's hard to justify knowing there isn't much else on the banner. And we kind of knew this, right? Because the Worldwide returned the 10th anniversary LRs, the Worldwide returned the previous Worldwide LRs, and like pretty much everything you would have wanted to summon for it was on the GDC banners. So, or previously Worldwide. So I mean, it's unfortunate, but it does mean that this banner is probably not going to be that good for your stones. So that's 1 for the unit. That's none for the banner, unfortunately. Moving on to what lies ahead. Now, unfortunately, we are in that time now. We are in the unknown. We don't know what's coming next, as this is the only thing we've been given for our roadmap leading up to this month. So we know that this campaign will end towards the beginning of October, and we will move into the next Dokkan Fest. Now, last year, that next Dokkan Fest was Lord Slug, and his celebration was, I mean, it was alright, but it wasn't anything too special. Lord Slug himself was fine, but you know, that's probably what we're expecting, something on Lord Slug's level following this campaign, with whatever is going to replace the Dragon Ball Heroes campaign. Whether they just move it on to a regular Dokkan campaign and throw in a yellow coin LR here, is going to be there. And then, of course, right, our December units and our December double rates banner will be following that. Now, before we get to there, of course, we will have a Part 2 LR to this campaign. Now, we have no idea what that Part 2 LR is, but, I mean, unless they go really out of their way here, I don't see it being much better than this character here. And of course, we don't know if it's going to be a carnival, if it's going to be a second Dokkan Fest, or if it's going to be a yellow coin LR. Obviously, carnival is the most likely because that's typically what they do with previously what was Tanabata, but remember, they did add in Kale and Caulifla in Golden Week as an extra carnival, so it's possible they just moved it, and the Part 2 is now a yellow coin LR. So I'd say for the time being, as far as what lies ahead, you aren't really losing much by summoning here, right? There's nothing coming until December, really, with the Rising Dragon Carnival, and even then, at that point, we're so close to anniversary that, I mean, you're really in the point of we should just be saving for anniversary at this point. That's typically how the year works out, right? September is usually the month when you want to start saving. So I have to say, as far as what lies ahead, it really just depends on how many Dragon Stones you have. But my gut instinct is to say you should probably just save until this guy returns, either during 11th anniversary or during the following Saiyan Day campaign in March, which would be at the end of the anniversary anyway. So those are our recommendations. So we have 1 for the unit, and unfortunately we have two against for the banner and for what lies ahead. So I think I have to tier my recommendation on this one, right? Because the unit is as good as he is, and you're really only going to be able to enjoy him to the fullest extent in the meta that we are currently in. You don't know what to expect with the 11th anniversary meta. I would say if you're anything above 1,000 stones, which I know is a big ask, considering we are post GDC at this point, and it was an extra long GDC at that. I would definitely say that you should probably, if you're anything above 1,000 stones, go ahead and give it a few 3+1s, right? The full campaign should give us over 600 stones when we counted it out, if you guys remember correctly. So you know, you could easily recoup that doing a couple 3+1s here on the banner, and that's also factoring in the fact that there are some Dokkan Fest tickets. There are Dokkan Special Day tickets, which will be live after these actually won't go live until after the banner is already live, so just keep that in mind. And then, of course, right, any free tickets that they give us in the meantime. But we will have the at least pay players, you have this option here. So I would say if you have anything over 1,000 stones, then, you know, do maybe no more than, you know, let's say 600 stones on the banner, right? So that's 4 rounds is what I would say you do, because that's the amount that you'll recoup during this celebration. If you're under that, right, if you're 800 to or we'll say 700, if you're 700 to 1,000, then do 2 rounds on the banner is what I would say, because you will recoup and get yourself above 1,000 by the end of the celebration. If you are anything below 500, I would say, then you should probably steer clear of this banner. Yes, Gogeta is good. Yes, Frieza is good, both in their respective ways and what they are utilized for. They're going to demolish quite a bit of the content. Again, we are now in that anniversary saving mode, and so it's kind of just not worth it if you are that low, in my opinion. So that is my tiered recommendation. Again, 1,000 or above, right? Post GDC, then go ahead, give it about, you know, 3 to 4 rounds worth. If you're 700 to 1,000, then give it about 2 rounds worth. If you are anything below 500, then you should probably save your stones. And again, if you are pay to play, low to play, then there are the Dokkan Fest tickets. I do recommend going that route first, just to see if you can kind of try to save your stones, especially if you're a low to play player. It's just an unfortunate timing. It really is. That's really what this banner is. This banner is a victim of timing. This banner is coming off of an extended global Dokkan campaign, where they even took the August Dokkan Fest, which should have been a rest period, and converted it to an LR, right? And it was an LR that a lot of people I saw found really hype. Not to say that this isn't hype, but again, a victim of timing. He's coming in at the tail end of one of the briefest cooldown periods we've had. And I mean, if you're global players, we went through this last year with UI Goku, right? It was really tough moving from UI Goku to Cell Max into Worldwide. That was a tough period for global players, and it's just as tough now, I think, for everybody, both global and JP. So unfortunately, yeah, my overall recommendation is to save as much as you can unless you meet one of the tiered requirements. So guys, that's it for the video. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and in the comments down below, let us know, will you be summoning for Golden Frieza and Gogeta? Let us know in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.